My name is Zina Hermiz. I was born at Providence Hospital in Southfield, Michigan. Growing up as a Chaldean American I feel it's been a wonderful experience, not only being friends with Chaldeans and enjoying the big family aspect of it, but even other things like, the ethnic foods and the parties and all the love and camaraderie, that's shared between us. It's been nothing but amazing. I'm glad I was born Chaldean. At some point, the Persian Gulf War did happen when I was in middle school, and I feel like there was a little bit of discrimination going on. Maybe some of us Middle Eastern kids were getting picked on just a little bit extra because of our background, and I believe that was the first time there had been a big conflict with Iraq in a long time. So that was a little tough. I get a few comments, maybe some negativity about where my family originated from, but it was nothing that became a big problem. I never had a fight with anyone over it. I never lost friends over it. But I do significantly remember that there were a few, kids like to pick on each other. So I was picked on a few times about that. My childhood was wonderful. No one's childhood is perfect, but if I had to rate how I grew up and the experiences I had, I wouldn't take any of them back, even the not so great ones. My life was going great. I had friends, I was popular, I had just began driving, I had my first job at a local fruit market, I was growing up, I was doing good in school. Unfortunately, life can change in an instant, as you know, and I had a really bad accident one morning. I was pedestrian hit by a motor vehicle while trying to cross the street on my way to school. I was late for school that morning, and it was very dark and rainy morning, and I was on a multi-diversity council at school. I was the one Chaldean that was selected to be on it, and there were kids from other cultures that were also selected. So I was feeling a lot of urgency to get to school because I had to be at these after school meetings. We had to present, a big assembly was to be held. And I was late, and the cars were speeding, and the woman that hit me didn't mean to do it, but it was a horrific accident that happened to me. I was trying to reach my best friend's bus stop because his came a little bit later than mine, but obviously I never made it. Fortunately, I survived, but I still deal with the condition of some after effects of the accident.
الشارع ضاعت بتاع السيارة وويتوه هيك وحملتها ساق اللباس بايش وان وين هاي بختها لزلت لا لا شي دم هيك لافت الزعلب هذا الشارع هلبس برخاشة بسلط والشارع خلص الشارع بريش الشارع دي بكم خالة بايش خوي قاوتوه والشارع بتحمله بعدين بالسخاء هاي بختار ليدي لو مقرق الصقيقة I don't know. Well, 7 o'clock.
It's one of those things that never should have happened, but
بختي لما حولت هالدولة chance.
I had to be airlifted to the University of Michigan Mott Children's Hospital because they're a level 1 trauma hospital, and there was a nurse on the helicopter on the survival life flight that just kept, comforting me. I was in and out of consciousness, mumbling, not making much sense. I couldn't see anything, and she just kept gently rubbing my shoulder and saying, Zina, we're taking you to U of M. They'll take great care of you there. Hold on, hold on. And I remember holding on to her voice, and although I couldn't see or move or feel anything, I just kept thinking, hold on. And I felt a peace. The Bible talks about a peace that surpasses all understanding. And I felt a peace at that moment. The Holy Spirit was with me there. And I held on, and as soon as I got to Mott Children's, I went into an immediate 12 hours of emergency surgery. I had a broken spine at the T10, T11 level, which is like mid-thoracic. and I had crushed bones. You know, my tibias and fibulas in both legs were shattered. I have a broken left femur. I have some metal, some screws that simply were put there to hold my broken leg bones in place. I had internal bleeding, just massive injuries. They didn't even think I would make it through the night. Once I survived, the doctor said, well, they told my dad, you know, we saved your daughter. And my dad was very comforted at that moment. But they said the chances of a spinal injury are very high. Thus, I'm using a wheelchair and or crutches. I'm able to use crutches today. But it was just the people in the hospital that saved my life. They were like my angels. They helped me really experience the love of God even more, you know, in those very dire moments. So I always believed in God. I write about in my book, my prologue in my book, Not Without God, A Story of Survival, opens up with a scene where I was a teenager riding my bicycle, and I'd hear from God, you know, through whispers in my heart, so to speak, and he'd tell me, you know, Zina, this road will not be easy, but I will never leave you nor forsake you. And I love to go out on those evening bike rides because I really felt the presence even more. So I was spiritual, you know, before the accident, but leading up to it, I remember continually asking God for more understanding. Like, God, I know you're real, I know you exist, but I was really longing to understand him on an even deeper level. And once the accident happened, I felt I really got that, as ironic as it is. It happened through a tragedy, but I felt like I found exactly what I was searching for. So my life is very busy. I mean, as normal can be, I would say, despite having had a bad accident. I work, you know, I teach online nearly full time. Ever since the pandemic, I don't go out and teach. I used to teach at churches, you know, in the local area, but now I'm strictly online, and I enjoy it. I mean, I'm on the computer most nights until 11, sometimes even 11:30. You know, I work for an international company, and I teach English as a foreign language or English as a second language. And I really enjoy it. It's rewarding. I mean, I've been in education for 20 plus years now. I also teach for a company called Varsity Tutors, and it's working with kids and adults. So it's like K through 12. And it's not only English, it's math, reading comprehension, science, you know, lots of other subjects. So I'm definitely active, you know, but I do work out of home full time. When I'm not, you know, sitting in the chair, I'm usually up on my crutches trying to get in as much movement as I can. I make sure to move every day, you know, not just stay in the wheelchair all day long, because it's healthier. I try to exercise, go to the gym when possible. I spend lots of time with my mom. I'm with her every single day, just about. So yeah, I would say my life is about as normal as, I don't know how you would define a normal life, but I'm pretty happy with, you know, my career and the social aspects, things like that. Writing has always been a hobby of mine since I was young. I would, you know, write poems or stories. I would often win story contests, even as young as in the second grade. So I've always enjoyed writing. I've always kind of had a natural talent for it. I would keep journal entries in the hospital. I'd have a flashlight in one hand, and I'd be under the covers and a pen in the other hand on a notepad, and I'd write letters addressed to Jesus every night, you know, just praying and requesting for, you know, me to get through this horrific accident of being, when I had been in the hospital. So writing has always been something I've gravitated towards as a form of therapy, I would say. And the book, you know, writing my first book, Not Without God, A Story of Survival, started I would say it started in the hospital because I saved those journal entries and I added some of those letters to my book. The first one, Not Without God, A Story of Survival. It was published in 2014 and it was published by a company called Morgan James Publishing. I had met an editor online, Terry Whalen, who acquired books and stories. Not Without God is basically my story every day. Not without God, I can't accomplish anything. Whether it's get out of bed in the morning, teach a class, visit a loved one, everything I do is with God and because of God. So Not Without God, when the title came to me, it just rang a bell. And then A Story of Survival, the subtitle is because I'm specifically telling my survival story. My latest book it's the second in my two-part series, Not Without God, Hope in the Storm. And this one I had just self-published on Amazon. There's a Kindle version and now a paperback version. And it's a continuation of Not Without God, A Story of Survival. I mean, it also is a narrative and it tells the story of the accident, what happened, how I overcame, learned to walk, recovered, got back into the real world. But I would say this book is more of a teaching book because I do offer journal entries at the end of every chapter where the reader can write and reflect. So I ask questions like, when was the last time God was really there for you, for example? Or has God ever saved you from anything tragic? I have a chapter on relationships and forgiveness. I write about physics in this book and I relate it to, certain verses in the Bible and how God is also the creator of everything and anything, all the planets, the universes.